I'm all at sea.
Hi again, everybody. Today I want to talk about scoring for 5 saxophones, which became the standard in the early 40s. It had been 4 saxophones, but now bands were adding a 5th. Most usually it would be 2 altos, 2 tenors, and a baritone, which became the standard. Actually, the Jimmy Lunsford band had 3 altos, 1 tenor, and a baritone. And they did that in the 1930s before Ellington did. Ellington added the second tenor. Ben Webster joined in 1940. The white bands like Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, Glenn Miller, they had 5 saxophones by this time. So how do we write for 5 saxophones? I talked about writing for 4, and that you could write 4-part close harmony. And the simplest way to add that 5th saxophone is to double the lead part at the octave. So that, say we had 4 saxophones doing that, and then you could take that top part, the G, and put it down the octave, give that to the baritone, so that the alto, the lead alto, and the baritone are playing in octaves. That sounds real nice, and the bottom voice will reinforce the top part. The bulk of saxophone writing has traditionally been that. There are many saxophone solis that use that formula. The most famous would be Cottontail, which is the prototype for saxophone solis. If you don't know it, it's Duke Ellington, 1940, Cottontail. Ben Webster wrote the lead line, and Duke voiced it out for the 5 saxophones. It's a full chorus of Soli, and then in the next chorus they continue to play, but in counterpoint with the brass. But for 32 bars, it's just the saxophone section, and so you can clearly hear this formula. The top 4 voices are in close position, and the bottom voice, the baritone, is an octave below the lead alto. Now, sometimes Ellington will have the tenor on the bottom and give him the octave doubling. That happens sometimes. Now, you could also use drop 2 voicings, and then give the 5th voice to give him the octave doubling, so that that octave doubling is actually above the dropped voice. That works, or drop 3, or drop 2 and drop 4. Those more open ones don't usually work very well for fast-moving solis. The reason why 4-way close works so well for solis is because it's more streamlined, and so when the passages are moving fast, which saxophones often do, saxophones can technically play just about anything you can think of for them, and so they're great at playing like a lot of 8th notes and 16th notes. So we like that. The next thing you could do to add the 5th voice, instead of doubling at the octave, well, there's the root. I'll have the root in the melody, but supposedly we got the 3rd is in the melody. Now I can put the root in the bottom voice. Or if we can create an even 5-note voicing, say like a 9th chord and drop 2, and then put the root on the bottom. That sounds really nice. So we don't do that a lot in the Soli passages because opening it up like that is a little bit cumbersome if you're moving fast, but when you move into cadences, that's nice. Although sometimes I do open up the voices a little bit on Solis. Another thing you could do is, let's see, you double the melody at the octave, you can put the root on the bottom. You could add a fifth note. Say you have a C13th chord, the 7th, the 3rd, the 13th, and the 9th. You could add another note that we're not using, say like the sharp 11th. And you could put that in the middle. This works especially nice with altered tensions. And you can use adding a fifth note. Doesn't happen all that much in closed position, but because that'll create half steps and whole steps in the middle of your voicing, though that does happen sometimes. But certainly as we open up the voicings, this is a very nice way to get more dissonance in your chords. Thad Jones popularizes, if you listen to his saxophone solis, like the Groove Merchant, 3-in-1, Fingers, all those. It's 5-part writing. About two-thirds of the time, Thad will use this. He'll have a drop 2 voicing, and then he'll add an unused note in the middle of the voicing. So what about the other third of the time? The other third of the time, it's a drop 2 voicing, and the bottom tenor, the 4th tenor, will have the octave doubling of the melody. Saxophones tend to play, the saxophone section tends to play more than the brass section. Very often are given melodic material to play, but they're also very good at playing pads where they can be in open position. It works really nice when we open them up and put the baritone on low roots, and you can get a very deep sound, and that's nice behind soloists or behind unison brass, or either unison saxophones, unison trombones, or unison trumpets, or octaves in the brass, and then pads in the saxophones, 5 saxophones. So that's about it for today. Next week we're going to talk more about writing for saxophones, talk about some doubles. Happy writing.